Well, this is second method, deductive methods. Deductive method is exactly opposite to inductive. As I have already said to you, in case of inductive methods, they begins with an examples. Teachers begins with examples. Here in the deductive methods, teachers begins with the theory or the concept or the generalization first, and then examples, and then confirmations of examples comes at the end. So actually teachers try to generalize the certain concept, and then slowly students have to make out and bring some examples. That is called deductive reasoning. So here in case of deductive, the generalization or the rule comes first, and the specific activities or the examples comes later. So now let's look at the definitions. The definitions of a deductive methods: a process of reasoning that begins with a specific set of assumptions or generalization, an attempt to draw a conclusion about individual and specific instances. So here basically what you have to understand is the process comes first, and then later part there will be an examples. Deductive mode as a method of instruction in which the principles or the generalization are presented initially and then followed by the applications or the test of the principle of or the generalization. So this is very simple and clearly is very neat. Teaching method, a deductive method is a teaching method that promotes learning through deductive reasonings, where rules or the generalizations or the definition of the concept are learned first, and then the specific example and instances are studied later. Alright, what are the different phases now? If we look at the different phases, the presentations of an abstracts. So teachers try to define a certain concept and generalization in the beginning before he begins his lessons, in the start of their lessons. Then the phase 2 is illustrations of the abstract. The need to be an explain, and then what are some of the critical characteristics that is being used to describe this concept has to be expanded or illustrated in the phase 2. Phase 3, application of the abstractions. Teachers ask the student to apply the generalization. The student may encourage to top generate examples of the abstract. So here students in the phase 3 try to give in some examples. And final phase, teachers may ask the students to reinstate the generalization and concept. Finally, after going through the more examples, then they should be able to redefine or the reinstate the concept or the generalizations that is being made in the beginning. Alright, and then now next is the principles of deductive approach. This is highly structured and the time efficient method with a strong content oriented. If you want to teach a really in-depth content, and then without feeling much about the pressure on the method itself, then this is the best approach. This method promotes a learning through deductive reasoning. When the processes are known, then obviously they should be able to tell the examples. So this method used the rule egg process. Previous in the inductive we saw egg rule process. Here we are seeing rule egg process. Please keep in mind the egg rule process is for deductive reasoning. Let's look at now the differences between the inductive and deductive strategy. Inductive strategy promotes a divergent thinking. Teachers as a role as a facilitators. Here in the deductive is a teacher center, because teachers explain the whole concept, and then try to give us some generalizations about the concept to be taught. Here teachers gives an example. Actually we try to explore mostly from the students, so therefore this must be more of an student centered, so promotes high degree of student participation, lesser scope for the student to participate in case of deductive. Inductive promotes high degree of interaction between teachers and students. In case of deductive, there is very less scope. Increase student motivation because they need to think, and then they are promoted, encouraged to write more and more if such kind of method is being practiced. Whereas in the deductive, may build up a monotony and passivity, so which student become very passive listener. uh, these inductive methods actually have a varieties of stimuli, whereas in case of deductive is limited. So in case of inductive, learning by observing, comparing, analyzing, and synthesizing and evaluations are all actively seen these different ways. In any case, the student has to do all this, whereas in case of deductive, students simply just listen. This is a process oriented and this is a product oriented. Therefore, sometimes teachers who try to be teacher centered and try to do a lecture method, mostly they follow a deductive methods. Provide long-term retention. So in case if you follow the inductive methods of teaching, a student will have longer retentions. They can keep they can memorize things for a longer time, whereas this has just for a short term memory, and then they forget. So this encourages a lot rote learning. Then of course, yes, inductive is a time consuming and other one is less time consuming. If you are able to do inductive methods very effectively, every student succeeds and they become very active learner. So all the success depends on the students' participation. So if the students are participate more, so they learn much better, right? And then now here there is an examples of deductive methods. For example, teachers defines predators, then give examples and non-examples and identify predators. Then phase this is an objective. Phase 1, presentation of abstract, which means he defines everything, and students are made aware of the concept. Number 2, then teachers provide an examples, and see the teacher has written all the examples. Then here phase 3 is non-examples and apply the general. For example, if there are they should be able to actually use that example and short out those examples and non-example out of given stocks of list. Then phase 4, closure, where the students should be able to reinstate or redefine the terms that is explained by the teacher. So this is all about the deductive methods. So hope you have understood. We'll have some more discussion. Please go through, try to listen to. If there are any places that you find difficult and challenge to understand, we'll always discuss in the class. Thank you very much.